What's up guys, Aero here, and if you guys are watching this video, then that means the Pokemon Company has officially announced the Pokemon Presents happening for Pokemon Day this year. It's been leaked for a while, so we kind of expected that it was going to happen, so I figured that I would just record my predictions in advance so that as soon as it gets announced, I can have it upload and then you guys can listen to them, but it's kind of boring if I just talk about my predictions alone here, so I brought a guest who I'm sure you guys all know. We've got Ruffled Rowlet here. How you doing, man?
Howdy, howdy. I'm doing all right.
Hey, nice to have you, man. I mean, it's been a while since we've kind of done like a collab, but we always have these Pokemon Presents predictions, so it's kind of fun always talking to you about it, and we've been doing it for a while now.
Yes, sir.
So
Yes,
yeah, I mean, I guess we can just kind of go in with kind of our initial kind of thoughts about this Pokemon Presents, because I don't know about you, but for me personally, I'm actually looking forward to this Pokemon Presents more than I feel like for the last couple of ones. I'm just a little bit more excited kind of knowing the games and stuff, but how are you feeling in terms of just like your overall kind of hype for this Pokemon Presents?
Well, I'm definitely excited. It's just less excitement than usual due to the fact that, well, we know for a fact what we're going to be seeing this time around, which is, of course, for anybody that hasn't kept up for the last year, is going to be Legends EA, as we haven't gotten a trailer, reveal, gameplay, nothing. So I'm excited because we finally get to see what this game looks like. But on the other hand, I'm like less excited because I know that there's nothing else. Like there won't be any surprises really. I mean, there always is a chance. Like we are talking about Game Freak here, and we are talking about the Pokemon Company, so they do tend to sometimes like shock us. I mean, even Legends EA on its own was a shock last year.
Yeah, nobody expected that. Like we remember all the rumors we had about like, oh, it's gonna be Let's Go Johto, or it's gonna be like Black and White remakes, and then it just didn't happen at all. But yeah, it was crazy. So I guess we can address Legends EA, since that's like the thing that everybody's going to be excited about. So do you think that Legends EA, in terms of like the info that we're going to get for it, do you think it's going to be kind of your typical, like we're just going to get to see a little bit about it, it's just going to show us the starters and kind of a little bit of gameplay? Or do you think because it's been so long and it's been like over a year, they're actually going to give like a more in-depth deep dive into like the mechanics and what this game is like and the story and all of that?
So yeah, I think they're definitely going to give us a sort of, how would you call it, like a general overview of the game, but like it's not going to be as in depth as we'd want it to be. Like I don't think they're going to go super deep on it, because that's never really something they've done. It's something Nintendo sometimes does with like whatever stuff they announce for other games, but for Pokemon, it's always very bare minimum. It's like you get a trailer, it shows you some of the basic stuff. I do think we're going to see more this time around, like way more from whatever trailer we do get. Like it's going to show a lot more. I'm at least hoping, but it all really depends on one thing, which is whenever like this game actually comes out. Like it all depends on when is the time for this game's release. That sort of is what determines.
And that's like the weirdest thing, because like right now we have kind of no idea exactly. I feel like personally, this is probably just going to be like the only 2025 Pokemon game when it comes to main series games this year. And I feel like because of that, they're probably going to try to have it be like the typical like November holiday time, but maybe it could come out earlier this year. Like when do you think that this game's actually gonna probably release?
Oh, I mean, honestly, I don't know. It's such a hard thing to predict because we do have like the issue of the Nintendo Switch 2 coming out, and where does the Nintendo Switch 2 match up in the whole thing? Because at the end of the day, it's all interconnected, but still separate when it comes to Pokemon, Nintendo, and everything, because they are separate companies at the end of the day. But like, in terms of when can we expect this thing, I don't know. Honestly, so hard to tell. It really depends on, like, to be honest. I would say, like, the ideal time would be summer. Like, that would make the most sense to me. But at the same time,
that's when
because it's been in time,
might come out also.
Yeah, so. Which, I mean, it would be a good timing, because then you get that game out, plus it's a good game that can easily be picked up for the Switch 2 as well. Of course, it is two separate things, right? The Legends EA is a Switch 1 game, and Switch 2 is the Switch 2. But of course, you know, the fact that they are going to be backwards compatible will be like, you know, just an obvious thing. Of course, there will be people out there, just an average Joe may not be aware of that, but like, just even like putting that into advertising and kind of pushing that out there, that advertising of like backwards compatibility, you know, even having it like on the actual case of the, you know, Legends EA, like in like the physical versions, having that like in stores, and it says like, you know, on it like Switch 2 compatible or something. Like it's like small stuff that like that they can do to make sure that like people pick it up.
Also,
so I feel like
there's been like rumors that we've heard potentially that there might be like a Switch 2 version of the game too. That could be like a little bit more enhanced. So maybe they could do that. I feel like it's kind of unlikely though, but maybe they could try to do that if they wanted to sell the game for like the Switch 2 as well.
True. I mean, they could because yeah, we did see like the Terra leaker, like the guy who like did the massive Terra leaks last year. He did share like that he found some like strings and files and stuff that hinted at some sort of, like you said, like
yeah, it was like he said it was like a Switch 2 like version of Legends EA, but he said it wasn't like complete, or like it just seemed like they started working on something for it.
Yeah, exactly. But that's the thing. His information is also going to be very like scattered in the sense that like he might not have the latest information off of whatever, like because he just skimmed through their entire database at the time, right? Like their servers, and just took as much as he could. But like whatever was in there at that time may not be what is currently in motion or what decisions they ended up making down the line, right? Like there could be, you know, a lot of things happen at the end of the day. Like at the end of the day, these companies aren't like, you know, these benevolent things that they're like, they're just, there are companies at the end of the day, and they're run by humans, and humans change things. Humans don't always stick to like
that one scrap Pokemon game that they showed. Like there was even gameplay for
exactly,
it, where like you ride the Pokemon or something. Remember that?
Yeah. I remember that. Well, I can't remember what it was called, but it's like the one that, because he was also hinting at like a Splatoon looking Pokemon game as well, and I think that was like seemingly related in some way. But I
just remember like there was like a clip of like, if I can find it, I'll put it up on
a Garchomp.
But,
it was like
there was
a
Garchomp you were riding. So there was some game like that, and obviously that didn't actually end up happening. So it's possible like they could have just like maybe experimented with like a Switch 2 version or like a dev kit or something, and then they didn't end up doing it, or maybe it will happen. But I feel like though for a Switch 2 version, if it is happening with Legends EA, it probably won't be announced inside of this Pokemon Presents. They might want to wait till like we get more info about the Switch 2 with that Switch 2 Direct happening in April, and then have the info come out later maybe.
Yeah, I mean that would make sense. That would make a lot of sense, but I don't know, man. Honestly, I don't know. It's all so confusing because of the fact that we had this entire gap year, you know? Like it really sort of threw a wrench,
I'm
into
actually
everything.
very kind of happy that gap year existed, because like, I mean, I feel like for the longest time we've been asking for Pokemon games to hopefully have a little bit more polish and take a little bit more time. And I mean, it sucks kind of as a content creator who talks about Pokemon news and like updates and stuff, because we're like, God, bro, we have nothing to talk about. We are starving here for crumbs for anything Pokemon related. But like when it comes to a fan, I'm like, you know, as a Pokemon fan, I'm like, I'm hoping now, because I think it's possible with Legends EA taking a little bit more extra time, and then going into Generation 10 probably next year, like having that break the 3-year cycle that we've had for so long about just getting a new gen every 3 years. It's possible these games could end up being a little bit better than we expected. Not obviously like it's going to be like looking crazy like some PS5 game, but just in terms of the overall polish and kind of the gameplay experience of playing it. And I feel like hopefully maybe the games won't be as like laggy and stuttery and stuff, if you remember how Scarlet and Violet was day one. So hopefully that.
Well, I mean, that's the thing. At the end of the day, that's the only thing this like extended time will do, because at the end of the day, whatever game they set out to make from day one, that's the game we're gonna get no matter what, right? Like, like that's something just like that people need to keep in mind when it comes to like the you know, the at least rumored idea of them having more time, right? Because we don't actually know when this game exactly started development. I mean, I think we do kind of know it now due to like those that like Terra leaker, but like, you know, just purely going off of like,
because didn't the leak also say like it was planned to come out last year too, like Legends EA was?
Exactly.
So it's possible. Yeah, it's been longer. But.
See, so that's the thing though, right? Like them delaying it, or them giving like having this gap year of sorts. Like, yes, this gap year is a massive change in formula for Pokemon. And the reason it is because ever since, well, Black and White, X and Y, since that time frame, we've had a new Pokemon game every 3 years, right? Like, you know, a new generation begins a new era of Pokemon. So those new gen games would always be, you know, something like Black and White, X and Y, Sun and Moon, Sword and Shield, Scarlet and Violet, right? Yeah. Those are games that start a new generation. And usually it always lasts that, 3-year cycle. And it has done that up until this point. This is the first time since Black and White practically that we are not having that, you know, gap year. We're not having that the 3-year cycle. We're having a gap year where they're skipping a year, and we're getting Gen 10 next year. Now, actually, there is still a chance Gen 10 could be announced this year. Like, I'm just gonna put it out there into the you know, into the void, hoping maybe it will happen, and we might see an announcement. I mean, realistically, the thing we're gonna get announced is gonna be the same thing they did back during like when Sun and Moon, like around the time frame where they announced, like in 2016 they announced the Switch, original Switch, and then in 2016 is when we get Sun and Moon. But then in 2017, everybody's expecting, like, because they announced the Switch, they're going to be a Pokemon game for the Switch in 2017. No, they just released Ultra Sun and Moon. But they did announce during the Pokemon Day, I think, or was it? I think you said E3 when we had this discussion previously. Like, I think. Yeah. It was like E3 or like Pokemon Day, sometime around then. They specifically said during one of their presentations, and we want to announce that we are also working on the next mainline Pokemon RPG for the Nintendo Switch, right? Like they literally said that and announced it in 2017 while, basically as a way to sort of confirm that, hey, calm down. We are working on a Switch game. And I think this exact same thing, the most likely scenario is we're going to get exactly that happening to this Pokemon Day. We're going to get Legends EA trailer and then them probably saying, and we also want to tell you that we are hard at work making, or like they might even just do a little trailer, a little teaser, like maybe like a Pikachu running or something, or like just one of those generic like CGI trailer, like something really simple that gives
like
away basically zero info.
EA reveal where it doesn't actually show any gameplay, but like just a little.
I mean, even less than that. I would expect even less than that. I'm expecting a Pikachu running in a white void, and then just being like, like a Pokemon 2026, like some shit like that.
I can see that, because like I don't expect there to be like, if people are hoping for like we're gonna get like a tease of actually like looking at Gen 10, I don't think that's gonna happen at all.
No.
But I mean, I do think like what you said, they could mention it at the very end, like where they could say like, well, we're sure that a lot of you have also seen the reveal for the Nintendo Switch 2, and we can tell you guys now that we're hard at work at making a brand new Pokemon experience for that system as well, or something like that.
I will say though, a little crazy theory of mine, which, I mean, again, it's highly unlikely, super unlikely, but I'm just going to throw it out there just for anybody who is curious. There is a chance we still get Gen 10 this year. Like there is a very slim chance. Like I really mean it's super slim, but there is a chance we could get that. And the reason I say it could happen, even though we have Legends EA, is because we've had Legends Arceus and Scarlet and Violet around the same, time frame as well. Like they came out in the same year, right? Legends Arceus came out, or Arceus, whatever you want to call it, came out in January of 2021, I think it was, right? Like 2021?
I think 2022.
2022. Oh yeah, 2020. Sorry, math is off right now. So 2022, they both came out in the same exact year, right? Comes out in January, then in February, because everybody expected them not to release a new generation. Like this is the main reason I bring this up. It's because this exact same thing happened, right? Yeah. The exact same thing happened with the last Legends game and the last new gen, which was Scarlet and Violet. We had January release of Legends Arceus, and everybody was saying, we won't get a new Pokemon game this year because they already released Legends Arceus, right? Everybody kept saying it. It's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. Pokemon Day comes around. They announce Scarlet and Violet. Boom. It happened, right? So there is always a chance, is what I'm trying to say. I'm not saying it's going to happen. I'm not saying it's 50-50 or anything like that. It's always a possibility,
I would actually agree with you if we got something for Legends EA last year, like if they showed us like a little bit of look for the game, because that's the thing with Arceus was like the year before 2021, we had a lot of trailers for that game. We knew a lot about it, and then it came out early into 2022, and then that way we still had all of 2022 that they could have hyped up Gen 9 for. But the thing is, like this time we don't even know what this game looks like yet. We don't even know what ZA is like or what the starters are. So like I feel like if if they spent last year hyping up Legends EA, where if we knew like about the starters and we had like info about the game, and then it came out like earlier this year, then I could see that happening, and then Gen 10.
But you know what it is? Another thing is, keep in mind, like you said, this game was quote unquote delayed, right?
Yeah.
Which means that originally was supposed to come out last year. And if it was meant to come out last year, that means that either this year was going to have nothing, 2025 was going to be a blank year, or 2025 was going to be Generation 10 all along, right?
Yeah,
it's either
possible,
one of those
like,
two, right?
If that was going to be last year, then it's possible maybe they were still just going to do the 3-year cycle and then have a new gen this year. But at this point now, it kind of, I feel like, might be a little bit even more exciting that Gen 10 could be next year, because we all know next year is also going to be the 30th anniversary of Pokemon.
True.
So it's going to be...
And that's the biggest thing that gives it away, right? Like,
yeah, and it's like, I feel like, because also for Sun and Moon, they did the same exact thing, that was the 20th anniversary of Pokemon, and here was Sun and Moon as like a brand new generation to celebrate that entire, milestone for Pokemon. So I feel like they could do that, and I feel like maybe part of it could also be that if they were planning to have Gen 10 come out in 2025, it probably would have still been for the original Switch, because like I don't think they would have had like the Switch 2 reveal and having that like announced and everything, and then still having Gen 10 alongside of it. I feel like would have been too kind of close, because we know how long like Game Freak usually takes with like how when they start like kind of making games for a new system, they don't do it like immediately. Usually got to wait like an extra year or so. So I feel like maybe that could have had like some type of thing in it, but I do think that next year it's going to be for the Switch 2, and that's probably because Nintendo wants it to be like that too, because that's going to get a ton of systems flying off the shelves. Every kid is going to be asking for that for Christmas and their birthday and stuff, so I feel like that makes the most sense in the end.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. I don't know. Honestly, at this point, I think the most logical thing is Gen 10 next year. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like Gen 10 next year, and we're just going to have to wait and see if anything else comes like, you know, down the line.
Because everybody agrees that like Legends EA is the last Pokemon game for this current Switch. Like I don't see any more new games coming out on it anymore.
Yeah, no, I don't think so. Like
there was like that Terra Leak rumor. Nothing. Like when that Terra Leak happened, there was rumors saying that Gen 10 was going to be on the Switch 1 and the Switch 2. I personally don't buy that. I don't think that that's the case. I mean, like they were saying that because like that's what the files were saying, like that the Terra Leaker was supposedly looking through, that like Gen 10, like what was it, Project Gaia or whatever, like they said it was being worked on for the Switch 1 and the Switch 2. I think that that's most likely just them maybe like testing some stuff around with the Switch 1 or maybe, and then like kind of moving. But I think like when it actually comes out, I do think it is going to be exclusive to the Switch 2, because that's going to be a system seller for that entire system. And then at the same time, I don't think that like how would that even work, like having a new generation on like a previous system and then also a new system. Like I feel like they're not going to go into cross-gen with it. I think it is just going to be for the next system. Yeah,
I doubt it. Yeah, I don't know. I really doubt that will be the case. 100% is going to be only for the Switch 2, like not even a question about it. But yeah.
A lot of cross-gen stuff is just kind of up in discussion right now, because like we've seen so much of it with like the PS5, where like a lot of PS5 games that came out early were also on the PS4. And then people are saying like, is Nintendo going to be trying to go into that now? Because with the Switch 2, like Metroid Prime 4 coming out and stuff, or like people are like, is that going to be like one of those games where it's going to be Switch 2 and Switch 1? Is the new Mario Kart game going to be like that? I feel like Nintendo has always kind of been the company where they really kind of embrace having exclusives for a new system. So I feel like they're all just going to be on the new system only.
Yep, definitely, 100%.
Yeah, so yeah, I think personally, Legends EA is probably going to be like the usual Pokemon time this year, like November, fall, around that time. But maybe they could do it in the summer too. It would be kind of nice if we got it earlier, but I feel like I'd be more confident in saying that if we got more information about it last year and we knew some stuff going into it. But the fact that we're going into this Pokemon Presents with literally not even a screenshot of what this game looks like is kind of insane.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing, right? It's like, it's been so long since this game was announced, an entire year, and I don't think we've ever gone this length of time, right?
It's been a long time, because I was actually researching about it. Like, when was the last time that they announced a Pokemon game and we did not get to see any gameplay for a whole year? And literally the last time it was I think Diamond and Pearl, where they actually announced that in like 2004, and we didn't get a single crumb of like what the game looks like until like 2005. So that's kind of insane.
That is crazy. But
yeah, so
I don't know, man.
But yeah, I mean, Legends EA, I'm just excited because in general, like I don't know how your thoughts are on for Legends Arceus, but for me, when I played Legends Arceus, that was like the most fun I had with a Pokemon game in like 10 years. So just knowing that there's going to be a new Legends game, like that makes me very excited to see how they're going to go with the new Legends game, and then hopefully maybe improving some stuff from Arceus. And because I just like that whole action style of like playing Pokemon, like, you know, like throwing the Pokeballs yourself from the back and like doing the dodge rolls and boss fights. I had a shit ton of fun with that game. So
I mean, it was the first time Pokemon tried something actually different for the franchise. You know what I mean? Like, I think that's the biggest thing. Is like,
and it was just such a breath of like fresh air to play a new experience like that, you know?
Yep. So. And that's the thing. I hope they use, because if you really think about it, Legends Arceus was basically almost like a testing ground of sorts, right?
In a way, it was like even for that, for like Gen 9.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I mean. Like, it was like a testing ground. But then again, Pokemon games have always been like testing grounds for new IDs for the next thing they're making.
We can kind of already see like the evolution of kind of how Pokemon evolved with like having this type of gameplay experience just throughout the Switch generation. Because like, you know, we saw like Pokemon Sword and Shield was the game where they finally introduced like this first area with like the wild area where like you could move the camera in any direction and kind of walk around wherever you want. And then that evolved into Pokemon Legends Arceus, where you have like multiple of those wild areas where you've got like these different zones now with like the Obsidian Fieldlands, where like that's an area where you can move around and go wherever you want. Then you've got like this desert area, then this forest area, this mountain area, this snow area. And then that evolved into Pokemon Scarlet and Violet, where it's just like now the entire region is like that. It's just a full open world entire region. So I think we have been able to see kind of that evolution. And I feel like it is definitely something that we'll probably see more going into the future games too.
Yep. I mean, I think that's literally what they've done all the time, right? Every single Pokemon game, like I said, is always a precursor to the next thing, right? For example, if you look at Scarlet Violet's DLC, right? They added in like the feature where you can sync up with your Pokemon and you actually become the Pokemon for a while. You can fly around, attack, and exactly. And I think that's going to become a bigger and bigger feature, like further and further down the line now. Like they're going to iterate on that, right? Sometimes they will drop features, like they'll introduce something and then just drop it down the line. But I feel like that's one of those things where they're testing the waters and seeing how it feels, seeing what people think about it, and like, you know,
I mean,
what the vibe is.
A lot of people seem to love that feature of being able to control like any Pokemon. So, I mean, honestly, I could see that being like used for like little things too. Like maybe like imagine like instead of like HM moves, they have like you turning into the Pokemon and getting to cut down the tree yourself or something like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
so
exactly.
And that's the thing. Cool.
That's the thing, right? Like the hope would be that they take all the good stuff they've learned now from Arceus, from Scarlet and Violet, from, you know, Sword and Shield, and that they just keep iterating. But it's also like, you know, and this is kind of like the thing I was trying to get at earlier with them having this extra time, is that at the end of the day, all right, whatever idea they had in mind or goal they set for themselves for this game, like what they wanted to create, that's not going to change. That's not going to be in any way improved or whatever. Like the original vision is still going to be the original vision, right? The only thing that we benefit off of this longer development time is really two things. Potential like side features, which they normally would have dropped because of not having enough time, may still be in there. Still unlikely, you know, still highly unlikely, but it is a chance that they might be in there. And two, the biggest one is the game will be more polished, right? Like we'll actually have a more polished experience that will feel more solid, right? You know, like we won't have to deal with, you know, the stutters, the low frame rates, the, you know, like, yeah, exactly. Hopefully. But that's what you'd be hoping, you know, to be getting out of this 1 year of no information, no news, no nothing.
That's what I will say. Is like if ZA does come out and it's still like having, you know, frame rate drops and it's a stuttery mess and it doesn't look as visually appealing, I'm going to be like, well, you know, why spend so much time on it? Or like, what was that extra time even going into, you know? So it will be interesting to see. I do have a little bit more faith now, and I do think, especially with the new system too, I feel like Gen 10 having more power, because the Switch 2 is already rumored to be considerably more powerful than the Switch. So like we've already seen the specs and everything of it. And I mean, I don't know how much, like, it also comes down to just how good you are at like developing and optimizing and stuff. But hopefully that could mean that maybe Game Freak can just have more to work with, and we do just have a better experience with Pokemon when we get games on that too.
Yeah. I mean, you'd hope so, right?
I'm hoping.
You'd hope so.
I'm hoping, But so I'm excited for ZA in terms of that. I mean, we'll also, I guess, find out really if like what we heard about when it was first revealed is going to be true, which is that this entire game supposedly takes place in just Lumiose City. Like it's just an entire city.
Yeah, wow, that's going to be a crazy one, because that will be a first. For
and
the
like
franchise.
That might be kind of a divisive topic, I feel like, maybe for some people too, because like if they show the gameplay and people don't really like that it's only going to be in just the city the entire time, and you're not going to have like forests or grass and like deserts and places like that to go through, it'll be interesting.
I have a weird feeling though.
I feel like even if it is the whole city, they'll make it work. Like, I mean, like there's been games where you have the entire game taking place in a city and like the game is still really amazing. It just depends on what the gameplay is.
I think they already tested this, by the way. And you can already see it again with the DLC. Think about it. The DLC, if you play the DLC, right, there's two locations. There's Kitakami and then there's the Blueberry Academy. What is the Blueberry Academy, technically speaking? If you really think about it, it is supposed to be a school, right?
Yeah.
Like, supposed to be a singular
just one giant
location.
Area school, yeah.
Exactly. But it has 4 different biomes in it, right? Like there's actual biomes to explore that are quote unquote unique and stuff. And again, that is, I think what you see there is a microcosm of what they're going to be doing with this. Like it's going to be set within the city, but there's probably going to be a bunch of locations within the city that will still be kind of like almost like the wild areas, right?
Yeah, wild areas, but like I've said it before too, when this game was first announced, I was comparing it to Final Fantasy VII, because that game itself is in an entire city. It's just in Midgar, and then you've got like these different sectors that you have, like different areas that you can go and visit and stuff. And I feel like they might do kind of something similar to that, where you just got like Lumiose City, but then different sectors of the city are going to have different like kind of biomes or different areas and things that you can discover, and they more get like unlocked the more you progress throughout the game. So I could see that happening, yeah.
Yeah, I think it's highly likely that there is going to be some negativity towards this, like this approach.
Yeah, I mean, some people like in general, like even when Pokemon Legends Arceus was announced, there was definitely still some negativity too, because for some people that style of game just doesn't work. Like you even see it now, like even with how much Legends Arceus was praised, there's always, I'm sure you've seen people in your comments or your chat always who are like, I didn't like Pokemon Legends Arceus. I like the traditional, just like, you know, how you play the game. So I'm sure you're going to see that regardless, but as somebody who did love Pokemon Legends Arceus, I'm very excited for this one, because we don't know exactly when they started development, but I'm assuming like if it did start a little bit later into 2022, after Pokemon Legends Arceus had come out, hopefully they got to see kind of like the fan reactions and stuff to the game and how much people loved it, and trying to keep some of those things that people really enjoyed again and kind of making them even better for the next one. Like that's kind of one of the good things that we get to see with like Pokemon, is like they take the fan feedback into consideration for the new games too.
Yeah, they do. I mean, that would be the hope, right? Is that they actually stick to, because I think this is kind of the great thing about Legends, is that it is an experimental game, right? I think that's what's like beneficial to the game, is that it can kind of try different things without too much, you know, too much stress and pressure being put on you know, that game series.
Yeah,
because at the end of the day, it's still
like
a mainline
ridiculously well. Like that's
15, 16 million. Like it did incredibly well.
Crazy for a single game too. Like without having multiple versions and people buying both of them, that is really kind of insane.
I mean, imagine if it did have like double versions, it would have done even better. Like just because there's always those people who will buy two, but like just merely off. And keep in mind, by the way, it sold 15 to 16 million, and it came out 2 months after BDSP. Like, think about the insanity of that.
And also the people time, like January releases usually don't do like the best. Like that's like the worst time to release a new game. You know what I mean?
Yep. And dude, but that's the thing. It's crazy, but also it kind of makes sense, because it was so different and it was being like hyped up because of what it was. And I think that's a little bit where Legends ZA is gonna have to sort of try a bit harder, is because Legends Arceus was really the first of its kind at the time, right? For Pokemon. Whereas Arceus now is kind of got like now we've had a few Pokemon games that are open world or open world-ish, right? We've had a big open world game with Scarlet and Violet, and we've had a semi-open world. We've had a you know, like a Legends Arceus type game with action type combat looking stuff, you know, like we've already had those experiences. Now it's like,
it's
you know,
really
will the
come
marketing
down to
power
like
be as strong?
gameplay.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Like
it comes
that's
down
the thing.
to the gameplay now, because they can't really wow people away by showing like an open area anymore, because like we've seen that through multiple Pokemon games. Like
and honestly, that's the thing. I really will say this: if they're making this game entirely in a city, and this is my personal criticism of them, right? If they're gonna set this game in an entire city, they really have to flesh the city out.
Yeah,
I'm sorry, but we cannot have like these walls that are just like supposed to be buildings, but it's just window shopping where you cannot even like enter, and you can't do anything. You would need to be able
to enter into a lot of buildings and stuff, and like have it be really fleshed out, or at least like, I mean, like what it kind of reminds me of, like I know it's not the same thing, but like it kind of reminds me of like the Spider-Man games, because obviously the whole game takes place in New York, right? But like you can't go into every single building, but like that city is still very fleshed out. There's a lot of places you can go and a lot of different activities and side quests and things that you can do. So like that's kind of like what you have to think of if you want to make an entire game in just one city. Like you can't just have like a small number of things to do and the whole game is like very minimal and like bare bones, if that's all you're going to have as your main location. So
you can give that excuse to Arceus because it was supposed to be set in like the past, where you could kind of argue like, okay, there's not a lot of civilization around, there's not a lot of buildings, so it's fine, right? So like, and it's like, but if this game is going to be set entirely within Lumiose, which it most likely is based on all the information we've heard from the game officially, right? Is that it's an entirely set in Lumiose game. That's literally what they tweeted.
Yeah.
If that's the case, you really need to make sure that Lumiose City feels alive. That's like the biggest thing. Make the place feel alive. Like make it feel like I'm getting lost in this giant metropolis. You know what I mean?
I want to be able to like move my camera up and see like skyscrapers and shit, dude. Like that's how it needs to feel. Like, so hopefully it
needs to feel. It needs to feel like how we felt when we entered like I forget the name of the city now. Like in Black and White, like
Castilia?
The one that's supposed to be like I think it is, right? Like the one that looks like that's supposed to like represent New York, right?
Yeah,
like
Castilia,
remember,
I think.
Yeah. So you remember like when you enter like into the streets as a kid and you like see like, you know, the giant buildings and everything just looks so massive. Like as a child, you're like, this is incredible, this is huge, this is massive.
Yeah.
It needs to give that feeling that we felt when we were younger playing Pokemon, like that actual feeling of like, wow, you know what I mean? Wow. It needs to give that feeling when we enter like the city, like Lumiose in this game. Like it needs to wow us. Like it really has to,
and
because
that's what I'm also kind of wondering is like, how is all of that going to work in terms of like catching Pokemon and all of that too? Are there just going to be like a wild Pokemon roaming around the city? Like you're just going to be...
Well, that's the thing. I think there's going to be like what they had with the Blueberry Academy, where there's going to be sort of locations where you can enter, probably like some sort of
little biomes.
Like I think you've already shown it on the map. Yeah, like kind of biomes throughout the map. And also we don't really know if this game is set in the past or the future, which also like past, future, present. We don't really know what time frame this game takes place in. If it's set in the past,
there's been a whole debate about that. Like I mean, some people are saying it's based on like history, because there is like the creation of Lumiose like through literal history and stuff, so people think it's based around that time period. But then we've had rumors and I think like other people saying that it's apparently in the future and they're like trying to build a bigger Lumiose City and stuff. I feel like it could go either direction. I think personally I would want to see more of a futuristic game because we already saw like a past game, so I kind of don't want them to just do the same thing again. But it'll be interesting to see kind of officially, because I think as soon as we see how the game looks, we're going to get an idea. If you start to see a lot of buildings and stuff already assembled, it's probably going to be more futuristic. But if they're kind of like a lot of buildings still under construction and it looks like it's kind of more like they're still building the first ever city, then it's probably going to be in the past.
Yeah, exactly. Well, that's the thing. Again, we don't know what they're going to try to do for this game, right? They could do a time travel thing. They could do future, past. They could do present. There's a lot of ways they can go with it, but I guess we'll just have to wait and see. And the trailer is going to give us a lot of that detail, but it really that will really make an impact on how this game is going to feel. Because if it's set in the future, I expect a lot of buildings. If it's set in the present, I expect like a massive city where I can enter a bunch of buildings, but if it's set in the past, I can expect them to do more open space with like wild Pokemon just kind of running around.
Yeah, because that's like one of the theories that people had was like if it's set in the past, it's going to be more like instead of like the missions that you had in like Legends Arceus, where like you had to go and like quell like the Pokemon that were like angry and like always pissed off and stuff. It's more like you're going to be like doing some stuff and like you get parts and like you help rebuild the city, or like you help get parts and like you see the city get bigger and more expansive by the end of the game.
Yep.
So,
but yeah, we'll see what they do with it, to be honest.
Yeah, I'm just excited because Legends Arceus I had a lot of fun with. I enjoyed the action combat and stuff like that. So it's going to be cool to see an evolution for that and how they're going to go upon it and stuff with this game.
Yes, sir.
Do you have any hopes for like the starter Pokemon, like a certain one you want to see? Because they already did Rowlet in Arceus. I don't expect that anymore.
Wait. Repeat the question, because my brain needs to like thunk this one through.
Yeah, you're good. I said like, do you have any hopes for like any starter Pokemon that could appear? Because we already saw Rowlet in.
Well, yeah.
Legends Arceus.
The thing is, you'd think that they're gonna do like starters again, like that are different than just like whatever Kalos originally had, right?
Yeah.
Like you'd assume that because that's what they did for Arceus, but there's always a chance that they don't. Right.
Yeah, I mean that's also been a rumor too, because like there was one rumor saying that it was actually just going to be like Fennekin, Froakie, and Chespin again.
Yeah, exactly. And that's kind of where I'm landing as well, to be honest.
I mean, I could see that happening too, because what's going to be the big cool thing about this game? They're adding Mega Evolutions again. So I feel like they could do that and then have like Mega Greninja, Mega Chestnut, and Mega Delphox, and that would be pretty hype. Like people would get happy for that. But then again, they could also do starters again from like other generations. But that's the thing, is like if they do starters from other generations, then it would be like, well, this one starter from this one set of starters gets to have a mega, but nobody else does. It would be kind of a little weird too. So
it would be weird, wouldn't it? Like,
yeah,
I don't know,
because they kind of did that with Blaziken. Like when X and Y first came out, like Blaziken was the only one that had a mega, so everybody was like, well, what about Skeptile and Swampert? But then it didn't matter because we had Oras come out after, and they all got megas.
Yeah, true. So I don't know. It's honestly, this is such hard things to like predict, because you really don't know. I mean, if there is any starters that I would want, I don't know. Like
a favorite, like besides Rowlet, obviously, that you would just want.
I'd love to see, if it's a grass type, I wouldn't mind Trico getting some love.
Trico is pretty dope.
I think Trico. I mean, I know he has a mega already, but that's also maybe to a benefit of sorts, because he does already have a mega, so he wouldn't have to get a new one. But if they're doing like regional variants, again, like they did with Legends, Arceus, then, I doubt that maybe it would be him. But like, I would love Trico personally.
That's the thing, is like I feel like this game isn't gonna have the final evolutions be like a different form, like how we got like the Hisuian versions of them.
Yeah, that's what I'm wondering, if it will or won't, right?
Yeah, I feel like they're just gonna have mega evolutions, because it would be weird if they had like a different style final evolution, then that one also had a mega too.
Yeah, no, that's 100% true what you're saying, and 100% accurate. So I don't know, that's kind of what makes it hard for me to even like give a prediction on like a starter in particular, because I don't know, they could really do anything.
I mean, for me, a favorite starter I've always been a big Chimchar fan, so if Chimchar comes back, I'll be happy. But we'll see, I guess. But yeah, do you have any other like last couple things you want to just talk about ZA? Anything you're hoping for? Well, I
mean, I feel like mostly I would say I'm expecting us to get like a hint towards Gen 10. I do think that's going to happen, at least in terms of this Pokemon.
Yeah, at the very end, like I said, like you said before, like they could just say that they're working on a game for the Switch 2, and we hopefully can see more about it soon or something like that. But even if we don't, we know it's going to happen next year. There's no way they're going to go for the 30th anniversary and not have a single main series game release. I can't see that happening at all. So yeah.
No, me neither. Like I definitely think we are 100% going to like get like some kind of Gen 10 hint, but it's not going to be anything massive. It's just going to be the most bare minimum thing in existence, and it's mostly just to get people like it's almost like the same way they did with the first time around, right? When like Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee and whatever. Like it's just kind of to reassure people, hey, buy a Switch 2, we will release a game for it, like already go get one, like because it's only beneficial to Nintendo and them and all of them combined, because then you have guaranteed someone that's going to buy the console, and also someone that's going to come back and buy a game for the console. You know what I mean? It's like it's a double kind of like
win,
double whammy.
Double win for both.
Exactly. Yeah. So I do think that they will say it, because like if you think about it, right, if you're like a Pokemon fan and you don't really keep up with the day-to-day of Pokemon, right, and then you see an announcement for Pokemon stuff happening on Pokemon Day, you see the trailers, and then you see a thing that says, hey, we're working on a Switch 2 title. Just that mere knowledge to you means that, yes, I can expect Pokemon on the Switch 2. I can expect new Pokemon on the Switch 2. Mm-hmm. That's just like enough to like just convince a few people to decide, because Nintendo needs to get as many of these consoles out as fast as possible, right? You want to get as many people buying the Switch 2 as you humanly can do. So I do think Gen 10 announcement. Beyond that, though, I don't really expect much else to be announced during this. And when I say announcement, again, I'm not saying we're gonna get like a gameplay reveal or anything. I really mean just a Pikachu running into the void saying,
I feel like it might even just be Ishihara, like literally just sitting there talking and saying like, yeah, we're gonna work on a new Switch.
Exactly. Yeah. So, that's literally it. Like, I'm not expecting more than that. That's like the bare minimum that I would expect like is going to happen. Beyond that, though, they already have more than enough mobile spin-off games, so I highly doubt they're going to make another one right now, because they already have like 6, you know what I mean? You got like Cafe Remix, you got Unite, you got Masters EX, you got Sleep, you got TCG Pocket, you got Go, you know what I mean? That's like 6 games.
They'll definitely have like updates for all of those inside of this Pokemon Presents, because they always do. The Legends EA stuff is going to be at the very end, so like we're probably going to get like a lot more of just that type of stuff, and new Pokemon for Unite, and updates to Pokemon Cafe or whatever, so that I'm sure is all going to be there too. And because of that, I don't really expect there to be any type of like new spin-off game announced for the Switch, sadly. It is kind of
always
insane.
Could happen. There's always a chance.
It could happen. Like, yeah, it could happen. But it's insane how like we've gone through this entire Switch generation without a single new mystery dungeon game or anything. You know?
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. All I'm gonna say is it is very possible still. You know what I mean? Like it is highly, 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 highly still possible. Mainly due to the fact that, you know, they have surprises before. You know, it has happened before. It's never like an impossibility.
Yeah, they caught everybody off guard when Pokemon Snap got announced. So like
exactly, yeah. There's always a chance. Is what I'm trying to say. You know, and keep in mind they do have Pokemon Works, like the other company that's also making games now.
Pokemon company too. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. So there's always a chance. Just always leave a little space in your mind and in your heart for the possibility of something else being announced. But like this is one of those like presents where like you really can just go in with the lowest possible expectations. Don't expect massive stuff. Don't expect Gen 10 to be announced. Don't expect like a massive new spin-off or small spin-off even. Just literally
I'm just excited to see for Legends EA, really. Like that's like the main thing you should be excited for. That's the main thing you should be looking forward to, because that is the thing that you're guaranteed to see, and it should be pretty nice to see that game for the first time. We also didn't talk really about like the art style. Like how do you think the game is gonna look? Like do you think they're gonna
dude, I don't know.
Do you think it's gonna like try to be more like Arceus again, like that old fashioned style, or
well, that depends on the game, right? When it's set. Like if it's, because I think if it's set in the past, it's gonna definitely look like Arceus. It's gonna go for the Arceus style. If it's set in the future or present, I think it's gonna have a different, unique style to it. Yeah, kind of like a little bit more closer to those, but I think it still will kind of look like its own thing. You know what I mean?
It'll be interesting to see, because that will also like kind of go into how the Pokemon look in the game. And like I thought like Pokemon Legends Arceus, like I thought like when that was announced and we got to see like what the Pokemon looked like, I thought the models and stuff looked pretty cool. And then Scarlet and Violet came out and they looked even better, I thought. Like if you look at like Magnemite from like Pokemon like Legends and then compare it to like Magnemite in Scarlet and Violet where it's all shiny
the
and
textures
like metallic.
And lighting.
So like I mean, if they could improve that and make them even better, that makes me more excited too, to also see what they could look like on the Switch too, because I'm sure those are going to be even better models now for the Gen 10 games on that. So exciting times are definitely ahead when it comes to that type of stuff too.
100%. But again, we're just gonna have to wait and see, you know, what comes out of it.
Yeah, I mean, but besides that, I don't really think there's much else. I mean, the other thing, we always talk about it every single time there's a predictions, and I feel like it's got to happen one day. But do you think there's a chance that they could announce some of those old Pokemon games coming to the Switch Online? Like Game Boy Pokemon games.
I doubt it now.
I feel like it's so unlikely.
It's too far gone now. We're done with the Switch basically. So I feel like it's like not going to happen, especially now. If we were talking like this, if we were talking like next year, when we have the Switch 2 already released and everything, you know, and we're talking about next year's Pokemon.
They already said that the current Switch Online carries over to the Switch 2. Like it's the same thing. It's not, they're not making like a new Switch 2 Online.
But it's like, it just wouldn't, it would be so weird to advertise and sell that now.
Actually,
right?
You know, now that I said it, I feel like it might make more sense to do that now on the 30th anniversary. Like have like all these old Pokemon games.
It would make way more sense then, right?
Yeah, so I'm actually going to say now that I think that it's more likely to happen next year now, honestly. I could see that being like, you know, here's a celebration of Pokemon, and because you know what? They did that exact same thing for the 20th anniversary, because that's when they announced like the Virtual Console Red and Blue.
Was it?
It was on the 20th. Right? Yeah, dude, it was on the 20th. They announced the Virtual Console for Red and Blue and Yellow on the 20th anniversary, like in that Pokemon Direct that announced Sun and Moon. So you know what? I'm actually going to say now, I feel like this is likely to happen next year. I think it's going to be finally the year they're going to give us like...
You're right. I'm looking at it right now. Pokemon Red and Green in 2016, they were released.
Yeah.
And then you had Red and Green, right? That was in 2016. Red and Blue as well in 2016, and then Yellow in 2016 as well. And then they did in 2017 and 2018. They did Gold, Silver, and Crystal, respectively. So dude, I think it would make way more sense next year, because this year it makes no sense. We're at the tail end of the Switch as like its life cycle, and like you said, next year is the anniversary. It's 30 years. It's a decade since those virtual consoles came out. And it's also if you really think about it, it is like the least amount of effort that they could possibly ever like imagine.
It is literally just putting the ROM onto that emulator.
Literally. It is so little work. Like it is such a minuscule amount of work, but you can potentially get 1 million sales per game. You know what I mean? Like you sell 1 million copies of Red and Blue, you sell 1 million copies of Gold and Crystal, and done.
I think you said before, like it might not even be connected to the Switch Online because Game Freak and Pokemon Company might want to make it like their own like separate version so that they make more money. So they could just have like a bundle come out on the eShop where it's like, you know, here's some of these old games for the anniversary if you want to experience some of Pokemon's history like on your Switch 2 or something. So yeah, I'm actually going to say, because like it was really like when I started talking about it and started thinking about it, I was like, wait a minute, they did announce the last time they did this, it was actually in the 20th anniversary presentation. So yeah, I'm going to say now it's going to probably be more likely to happen next year. You heard it here, folks. I think next year might be the year we finally get to see those old Pokemon games. But yeah, I mean, besides that, do you have any other last minute like kind of predictions, things you're hoping to see in this Pokemon Presents?
Oh, not really. I just hope that they give us a long Presents and then that we actually get a decent chunk of information. Like, I do not want them to give us a 1-minute trailer that's still obscure stuff and barely shows us anything.
For Legends ZA, they should be aware that it has been over 365 days since we have seen this game or like even a mention of it without even seeing the gameplay or like the screenshot, because that other thing was just a teaser. The Pikachu running around is not going to be in the game. So like, please, like actually give us like a good overview of this game. Show us like what the new mechanics are like.
We need to see gameplay. We need to see a variety of the Pokemon. We need to see the world. We need to see characters. We need to see like people, like we need to see how the world in this game functions. How do people like, do you enter buildings? Do you know, like just give us a lot of stuff to like just dissect, you know what I mean? Because there's been nothing to really like, dude, we've been skimming through that teaser trailer so many times for this past year.
Yeah, and it's like there's like nothing in it, bro. Like
literally, there's no gameplay.
Running around with
nothing.
Some Pokemon, yeah.
Exactly. It's like we just need a chunky, like 2, 3, 4-minute trailer, like something chunky and long.
We need like a 2-3-minute trailer, and then we need them to like talk about it for another 4 minutes after and be like explaining like, here's what this is going to be, and then here's what you're going to do for this, and here's how the gameplay works for this, and stuff like that. I'm hoping that that's what they decide to do. Because the worst case is like they're just going to give a very small 1-minute trailer. Here's just the starters. Here's a little crumb of what Lumiose City looks like, and then it's like, well, wait till June for trailer 2. Like that would suck. Yep. Hopefully they don't do that.
Yeah. We'll see.
But yeah, like I said, I'm excited for this Pokemon Presents. I think going into this one, I'm more excited than the one we had, I think last year even, because like last year we were going into that one expecting like Johto or like Black and White remakes or something. And I guess real quick we can mention that too, is like I don't see any of that happening anymore either. Like some people still like have a little bit of crumb of hope that there's going to be like a Let's Go Johto announced. I don't think that's happening.
Let's Go Johto might happen for the Switch 2 as a launch title or something before Gen 10, just to kind of get like people
like what they did with Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee.
Yeah, they could do that. I mean, I doubt it because we're definitely getting Gen 10 next year, like no doubt. Yeah. So like I doubt it. There's always a chance, you never know. But Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee
if they wanted to have something for like each, they could, I guess, like where it's like, if you want like Legends ZA, here's that for the Switch 1. If you're getting the Switch 2, here's like Let's Go Johto or something. But I still feel like that's super unlikely. I feel like there's a better chance of like the Switch 2 getting like a ZA version, like a definitive, like enhanced version or something better than like getting Let's Go Johto or like Black and White remakes. And I do think Black and White remakes will happen, but it'll be after Gen 10 because they're always like after even generations. That's when we get remakes.
Exactly.
So yeah, I'm not really expecting that. I know there's a lot of like people always have like that hope that there's going to be something else, but I just don't think so. I feel like maybe if they revealed more info about ZA last year, I would have had some more confidence in saying that maybe could be another main series announcement. But going into this, not even knowing what the game looks like is why I feel like ZA is really just going to be their focus for all of 2025.
I think so too. I really don't like. I'm really not expecting much. Like,
but I mean, it's possible ZA could be a very like expansive and really big game, and if that's the
case, would be the goal, right? That would be the hope. But it is still a Legends game, which is the thing, right? Unless Legends games are meant to be this like super experimental, which is kind of what they are, but also we just don't know what the scope of this is. And I feel like if they do make this a massive game, then we can expect them to be willing to like freaking mess around with all kinds of shit.
Yeah, I mean, I already thought that Legends Arceus was pretty massive. Like, I clocked in like a good like 50 to 60 hours playing through that game. trying to like beat it for the first time and stuff too. Because like if you really spent the time to like look in all the little caves and find all the hidden Pokemon hidden in different areas and stuff, like that game was definitely kind of pretty long if you really explored all the zones and tried to find everything. Because if you were just rushing through the main story, just talking to who you needed to, going to the boss fight and stuff, then yeah, you can finish that game in like 10-15 hours. But yeah, if you did everything, there was a lot of like stuff to explore. And so like if they have a lot of like secret little alleys and things you can explore in like the city and stuff, like yeah, you could definitely probably spend a lot of time just getting lost in there and exploring and stuff.
Yep.
But yeah, I think that's going to do it, guys. I mean, we're all pretty much just excited for Pokemon Legends ZA. That is really the main thing to kind of look forward to going into this Pokemon Presents. I don't really think you should go in with the hope for like Gen 10 or like some other crazy thing. But Legends ZA, definitely going to be there. Should be pretty exciting. Hopefully they do have some more stuff about it and they go more into detail about it. But yeah, I mean, we're just around the corner and it should be exciting to see. I will, of course, be streaming this Pokemon Presents when it does happen and all. And I'm sure we can have Ruffled Rowlet come through in the chat in there too. And it should be fun. We can watch that together like usual.
Yes, sir. Like always.
Yeah, it'll be pretty exciting. But yeah, that is going to do it. Thank you guys again so much for watching. And thank you so much again to Ruffled for coming. I know we had some technical issues and stuff before too, so I apologize for that. But hopefully everything should be good now. And yeah, I do appreciate you for coming, man. It's always fun talking with you, so I do appreciate it.
Always a pleasure. Always a pleasure.
All right, you want to plug in some channels, let people know where they can find you? I know you got some different projects.
Ruffle Rowlet on YouTube. Just Ruffle Rowlet. It's good enough.
Yeah, there you go. Go give him a follow, guys. I'll have his stuff linked below, of course, in the description. Check it out. He talks about Pokemon news and everything as well. And yeah, I mean, we're going to be there for this Pokemon Presents, and it should be exciting to see what they have. And it's been so long since we've had anything for this Pokemon Legends ZA, so I'm just excited to see what it's going to be like. And yeah, it should be a pretty good, exciting time. And yeah, thank you guys all so much for coming, and I'll see you guys in the next one. All right, peace.
Bye-bye.